with all of our liberated ideas about gender and power, it's really only women who now have greater optionality within the sexual marketplace. For better or for worse, it's not really possible for men to be passengers. Male passengers tend not to get on any boats. They tend to just sit on the dock. Like they can't really be passengers because they can't secure passage on a female captain's vessel in the vast majority of cases. So de facto, that role is prohibited to them, whereas women in today's day and age are encouraged and incentivized and empowered to become captains. And so now we have a lot of female captains these days, okay? And there are some legitimate captains who go through that 10-year process and they have a career and they make a lot of money and they've extrapolated their lifestyle. That exists. The issue with this is that female captains create what I call the two-body problem. Has anybody heard of the two-body problem? Okay, a few people. I think that this term originally came from academia, which is basically this. If you're foolish enough to actually get a PhD, you're in for usually 5 to 10 years of isolation, pain, and struggle that is completely arbitrary and nobody else understands. It's like grad school is where fun goes to die. It's not a happy, good times place. And so what happens is that the prisoners tend to fall in love with each other because they're the only other person in the world that really understands what they're going through. And this happens all the time as PhD students, because they have these blinders on, they have to focus on their one little thing. They only have like 5 people around them and they end up getting into relationships with one of them, okay? Now fast forward 10 years and both the man and the woman have succeeded in becoming doctors. Let's assume that they both have the same trajectory. They both want to be tenured professors. Well, if you know anything about this situation, the market is awful for professors. Like there are probably thousands of PhDs that are minted every single year, and maybe 100 max tenured positions open up anywhere in the world. Like it's a terrible market to get into if you're a seller. It's definitely a buyer's market. So the vast majority of PhDs will not get an offer, and if you do, you don't really have a lot of power into dictating where it is. It's like you might get one offer and it's in rural Missouri. No offense to Missouri, but like that might not be where you want to go. But here's the real two-body problem, is that if you both are fortunate enough to get an offer, which is unlikely enough, the likelihood that those two offers are going to be within 1,000 miles of each other is functionally zero. You could be offered in Alaska and she could be offered in Puerto Rico or something like that. And so now it's like, oh shit. Okay, well, are we just going to do a long distance relationship? No, that kind of sucks. I don't really want to do that. Well, why don't you come with me to Alaska? And she's going to think, well, why would I do that? I just worked for 10 years to get this doctorate. Why don't you come with me to Puerto Rico, huh? And you're like, well, why would I do that? Because I just worked 10 years to get this doctorate. So here's the thing is, if you actually succeed in becoming a captain, which takes 10 years of effort and risk and struggle, you're not going to give that up for like anything. It would have to be such a significantly better offer than anything that you could create for yourself to ever become a passenger on somebody else's boat, right? And so the issue is that female captains are pricing a lot of men out of the sexual marketplace. This is based on the economic principle of marginal utility. Marginal utility basically means that the same good isn't as valuable to different people in different contexts. Like if you, as an employer, were to offer a guy who was kind of just living month to month $1,000 to work 50 hours a week, he might take it and be grateful for it because that $1,000 is very, very useful to him. But the same offer wouldn't be compelling to somebody who already had millions of dollars. That extra $1,000 is only marginally useful to him. Do you understand? So if a woman becomes a captain, a man will have to have like an order of magnitude more resources than she does to justify her giving up what she struggled for 10 years to achieve. And that's kind of rational and correct. But the issue is an order of magnitude is a lot. It's a zero. Like for a lot of female captains, they're only going to consider that if you make an additional 0 more than she does, you know, because it suggests that even though I'm going to be compensated for giving up my goals because I'm going to get more from being a passenger on this ship, far more than everything I'm going to achieve for myself, which is just not the case. I mean, men and women now more or less have comparable incomes, especially until children appear. In fact, I think for the first time in human history in the West, women under 30 who are childless make a little bit more than men under 30 who are childless. And this is just pricing so many men out of the market, because if women trade sex for resources, and you're not going to give me an amount of resources that actually functionally makes my life better or different, why bother? Do you understand? It's actually kind of a rational decision. And so what generally happens is that if women go through the process of attaining their captaincies, what is their victory? Like, what do they get at the end of this? Well, they get what the same... What's that? They might get cats eventually, because it takes them a while to get to the cats. In the beginning, they take a victory lap and they pat themselves on the back and they're very, very proud of what they've accomplished, and maybe there's some justification for that because it's hard to become a captain. But the ultimate reward of becoming a female captain is the same as becoming a male captain, which is you get to park your ship at the dock and try to attract passengers just like any other captain. Now, a female straight captain is going to want potentially a male passenger. But the male passengers are generally not the type of men that women dreamed of having access to when they started on that path, okay? And so that's when they eventually get the cats, because they see that they're not rewarded with a male captain. They're rewarded with the possibility of competing for male passengers, which is not a very attractive prospect to them. Okay, so running short on time, let me put a pin in this then. So what we see is that there are role sex matches and there are role sex mismatches. Still, even in today's modern age, male captains and female passengers are role sex matches. And the reason why this continues to work is because both men and women have a socially sanctioned, monopolized good with which to transact. On the one hand, women are the gatekeepers of sex, like we've heard this weekend. We've said that they get to decide if and when sex happens, and there are strong punishments socially to any guy who says, no, I'm going to take that away from you, and I'm going to make the decision. So we've said that women have a monopoly on this. On the other hand, men are the gatekeepers of commitment. So they have a monopoly on whether they can give that exclusivity or they can move the relationship forward. And so these two people can kind of do business with each other because male captains transact their monopolized good, commitment, for the monopolized good, the sexual opportunity of female passengers. And this also kind of aligns with reproductive realities. So if male captains, remember, captains want to cram as many passengers on their ship as possible, right? So that kind of aligns with some of the biological reproductive imperatives of men. Like, you make trillions of sperm a month. Why is that? Like, you can only get your woman pregnant once a year. You know what I'm saying? What a waste. So from a biological perspective, men are reproductively successful if they can pass on their genes through multiple different women, because that basically means that their offspring has a better chance of surviving to adulthood because of the genetic variability. On the other hand, women create one egg a month. Having a bunch of passengers would be useless to her unless they were just like providing utility, right? From a reproductive standpoint, they're useless. And so that's why women are trying to find their single best option, and men are trying to secure the greatest number of non-terrible options, okay? That's also why generally men's sexual standards are much lower than women's sexual standards. They're like, hey, we'll pass you through the metal detector. If you don't have a bomb, yeah, okay, come on, let's go. Whereas women are much, much more picky because they get one shot a month, and then they're off the market entirely for a year.
I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full-length podcast, you can find that over here, that clip's from. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe over here, and pin down below in the top comment, you'll find a bunch of useful links to my website, my supplement line, books, and a bunch of other stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace out.